Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 90 of the Whitey and Will Sports Show. Today is Sunday, November 12th, 2023, and that means we are hours away from the official beginning of girls basketball season in the state of Illinois. They can start playing games tomorrow, and with that in mind, we have got somehow for the third straight season, we have been able to talk our local girls basketball coaches into wasting an hour or 45 minutes of their evening with us talking about their teams. But we really do appreciate it. We've got, I'm just going to go clockwise on my screen anyway. Jeff Schafer's up there in my top right corner, the Effingham High School coach. Jeff, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And Laurie Thompson from Teutopolis. She is with us again. Thanks, Laurie, for jumping on with us.
Yep, thank you as well.
And Aaron Rios from St. Anthony. Aaron, thanks again for jumping on with us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, guys. It's always a pleasure to be here. Appreciate it.
So, we are going, and if anybody wants to, Mike and I are going to talk about, we're going to hit on St. Anthony's volleyball team. They made it to state. They played this weekend, and I got a chance to be there. And so we definitely want to hit on that. So stick around after we talk to the coaches. We will, Mike and I will break that down, but we will get started with a little girls basketball preview, and everybody is coming off of solid seasons, and really, no surprise at this point. All of your programs, we pretty much just we expect to see good things from you, and part of that, a lot of that has to do with what you guys do, but looking forward to this year again. I didn't really do any sort of a decision about who I wanted to ask first to talk about their team individually. But Mike, you have any general questions for our coaches you want to get out of the way first before we have them break them down?
I guess, really, how soon do you guys start this week? I haven't looked at anyone's schedules. Does anybody jump out of the gate Monday or Tuesday, or do you guys have a few days?
Yeah. T-Town starts Tuesday. We're at home with Mount Vernon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, St. Anthony, we play, we're away at Dietrich on Tuesday night.
And then
Play tomorrow about this time at Robinson.
Wow.
At Robinson, yep. So how have practices been for anybody? Has it been pretty solid? Everybody been ready to go? Now, I know, Aaron, we'll get to you in a second. It's been interesting for you guys because of that volleyball success that the school's had. But Jeff, Laurie, things gone pretty well so far?
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah. T-Town, it's been a good 2 weeks. We've been, busy going through the fundamentals, and a lot of learning being done in the gym, and it's gone real well for us.
Excellent. Jeff?
Oh yeah, I would say the same. I'm pleased how we're coming along offensively, but defensively, when you got to replace a bunch of kids, it's tough, and we're definitely not there defensively yet, but we'll get there.
Now, Aaron, your situation is unique because you share a lot of athletes with the volleyball team, and they literally just finished their season yesterday. I know it's not everybody, but there's plenty of key components there. So how has that even looked? How does that work?
Yeah, it's been interesting, and also the cross country team went to state, right? So our first week out, congratulations, to Coach Art Gein on the cross country side, and you're going to talk about the volleyball team. What an amazing run that they had as well. So we still had, like our senior veteran, Stacy Vonderheid, coming as much as she can, even though she ran on the cross country team and she was on the volleyball team too. But it's been interesting. There's been practices where we've had 7 or 8 kids. We haven't had all of our kids there for that reason. And we're just figuring out with the newer kids, it gave them more time to kind of transition from the summer, the things we weren't learned over the summer, to what we're doing today. And I feel the last few days we've got pretty good practices in, and we got one more good one tomorrow, and we'll be ready on Tuesday. But to your point, we've had some kids that haven't showed up at all due to volleyball. So that's kind of what we're dealing with. And those kids that come in, and tomorrow. We'll work with them over the next few weeks to get into shape, and hopefully they'll start, moving into the lineup or moving somewhere in our top 6 or top 8 on the varsity level. So.
Well, since we got you talking, Aaron, I think we'll start with you. How's that sound?
Sure. Perfect.
St. Anthony had a great year last year. Won a regional, won 27 games against just 6 losses. 20, and that's a school record for wins in the season, correct? And
right.
And had to face a really tough Tuscola team in the sectional semifinals, but it was an outstanding year. Won the NTC regular season without a loss. Took the tournament championship game to overtime, and had a lot of kids contribute to that. Obviously your leading scorer from that team, Lucy Fearday, has moved on. Not just your leading scorer, but the school record holder for points in a career. But she and Anna Faber move on along with Riley Willenberg. But you got a lot coming back, and obviously the headliner there is Nancy Ruhal. A freshman scoring 13.5 points a game. That's pretty good. But that's not all. I mean, you had 4 kids averaging close to double figures, 3 in double figures, 1 close. That's good distribution, and you got a lot of that back this year.
Yeah, thanks, Dustin. Appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, the kids have really bought into our program over the last 3 years. We've seen some good success, as you recognize. Obviously, we didn't go as deep in the tournament that we felt we were capable or had the potential to do it the last few years. But all in all, I feel very good about our program. Yeah, as you referenced, you can't replace Lucy Fearday. It's difficult. That not just from a basketball standpoint and statistics, but just from the kids' mentality and wanting to be part of the Bulldog culture and our sisterhood program and everything she brought. And, Lucy, it's amazing. I think she's our second kid in school history to go on to play in college. And she's playing on a really good Parkland team right now. I think they're still undefeated after this weekend, but she's had really good minutes on a really good ranked JUCO team and playing really well. Anna Faber, same thing. She's playing volleyball and softball at Kankakee College, and I hear from her mother the other day that she's starting on the volleyball team, and they didn't anticipate she was going to play volleyball. So she was right at 10 a game for us. But those two leaving us, as you referenced, Nancy Ruhal last year averaged 13.5 a game. Strong player for us. Nancy had an amazing summer. Played AAU all summer. Did a really, really nice job in some of the major tournaments in the U.S. and helped her team. They had a lot of success on the team that she plays on the Indiana Havoc all summer. And she played with a number of kids. One of Jeff's kids and one of Altamont's kids as well were on her team and showed a lot of success. And I've seen a lot of growth in Nancy. We really want Nancy to be a two-way player, not just, you go out and get 20 a game. She can do that, but also be a defensive stopper for us as well and guard some of the best guards that we have in our league, like Grace Nelson and others, and have the capability to do that. So we've been really challenging her on the defensive side of the basketball because we know she's a natural scorer. In addition to that, Stacy Vonderheid, I wouldn't sleep on Stacy Vonderheid. She was right at 14 a game last year. She's a 4-sport athlete. She wants to go on to college to play basketball. She's one of the most committed kids that we've had in our program. She's just a gym rat. She spends hours and hours in the gym trying to elevate her game. And, Stacey will play point guard for us, but I think we can play her all the way through the 3 and 4 spot in our league. And I think she can guard people in the 3 and 4 spots in our league. She's right about 5'8", 5'9", but she's quick, she's strong, she's tough to deal with. And we're expecting a lot of things out of her as well. So our guard play should be good this year. We have Addison Rios, who's probably our best on-ball defender, quickest kid on the team. So we got college athletes, not necessarily just all basketball, but with Nancy and Stacy probably going to go on to play college at some point. Addison, probably more than likely mid-major, some Division I school in softball, and even Addie Nuxel from a volleyball. I don't know what level she'll play at, but we've got some good athletes that are coming back. And one thing that some people may not know is our junior class, who we have, our 4 or 5 kids that'll be here, they've been together for 8 years playing basketball, and we've been coaching them ever since then. And Nancy's been with that team since 4th and 5th grade, 6th grade, and now 9th and 10th. So I think we're going to have really good guard play, and then we're going to have Addie Nuxel inside along with Callie Cabas who Callie Cabas is going to be undersized, but she's good defender. When we had to play Tuscola and we got in foul trouble last year, Callie Cabas came in the game and basically for 4 possessions they tried to go ISO on her, and she shut them down. And she's undersized, but she's strong and she plays her tail off. She's a kid that I think everybody would want on their team. And then we have 2 freshman kids right around 6 foot, Addie Laritzin and Allie Coleman, both good business or basketball acumen for freshmen. Allie Coleman's super athletic, can block shots, and Addie Laritzin really knows the game really well. So I think overall, even losing Lucy and Anna, similar, if you remember, Dustin, we had to replace Riley Guy's 18 points a game and
Sure.
Grace Karolievich's 10 points a game. I think we got kids to round out the production. And the most important thing to me this year is we finally have a core of 7 or 8 kids that have played together for a very long time that are experienced in our system. And we feel good. Even though we haven't had them all in practice the last 2 weeks, we still feel pretty good about them coming out and making a good effort on Tuesday night.
Now, I mean, this is your 5th year at St. Anthony, and you talk about a system, and I think that being there your 5th year as opposed to your 1st or 2nd, that makes it maybe a little less challenging when you're bringing kids in that haven't necessarily been able to practice full time with you. They at least understand the expectations. They know what you want. They know what you do. So as you get more of a foothold there, that becomes, I guess, maybe a little less of a problem than it might have been in years past.
Yeah, I mean it's really fun right now. As I mentioned last year, I'm glad I'm starting to try to get my big tail in shape because I usually had to practice my first 2 years because there's times where we only had 7 or 8 kids in the gym. But I like to practice this year. The last few years I didn't, but they understand what we do. It's not show and tell anymore. It's basically they come out, they understand our drills that we run. We put in new wrinkles of drills in practice each year just to keep it enthusiastic. But fundamentally our core defensive strategy and offensive strategy, a lot of similarities. We have changed some things up just because our personnel has changed this year. But they know what we need to do and they know the expectation. So when we say certain things, they already know what the standards are.
Right. We got Mike.
No, I mean, with that, it's good to see when you bring in some freshmen like that. You got a couple big kids as freshmen, and then they become part of the group. It's just a melding process, And a couple of weeks ago, I know, what was last week? I was walking at the complex and Stacy Vonderheide was in there working out at the complex. And it wasn't like some kid, shooting and scratching. She was working. And then she'd go do ball handling drills. And then she'd come back and do some shooting drills. And I was impressed with that because you could tell she was in there with a purpose, not just in there saying, hey, I went to the gym and shot for an hour. She was in there doing some work. So that was good to see. And, like I said, it should be, good season this year.
Yeah, I mean, we set our standards and our expectations. I mean, we're going to play a tough schedule in Class 1A. We're probably going to play one of the toughest schedules again. And we'll see Jeff and Laurie again in the regular season. And then Mattoon switched it up right this year. Altamont and Richland County moved out of the Mattoon Holiday Tournament. And I see Jeff's on one side and Laurie's on the other side with us as well. So it's really good for our team. I think we found that playing up during the year has helped us accelerate to where we're at as far as early on in the season, rather than just playing a straight Class 1A schedule and hoping that we win 29 or 30 games in the season. It's really prepared us for where we want to be at the end, and I continue to see the success out of our team as we continue to grow. But I'm excited to get started on Tuesday night.
And then, I mean, the girls on your team that are on some of those other sports that have had so much success over the years too, the volleyball players, the softball players. I mean, obviously different sports, different skill sets, but one thing that's consistent across all that is that the mentality, right? The winning mentality. It's definitely there in the school right now. There's been so much success at St. Anthony just across the board. It's seems like it's got to be a really exciting time to be involved with the athletics there.
Yeah, I mean, it's the standards are raised, right? Just in the fall, you guys know you cover it really well. The boys back to back, with legendary Zakari in golf, and the girls go to cross country state championship for the third time, I think, in school history. Volleyball makes it for the first time, and you referenced Mike Stacy Vonderheide. Well, she's been the state in cross country, volleyball, and now softball twice. So, the winning pedigree, and especially on the girls' side in particular, has raised the bar. And I just hope that kind of flows over to our community and our fans coming out to watch us play. Because as you guys remember, even we were ranked top 5 in the state last year. We may have 30 or 40 fans out there, but we'll have a good ball club this year where I hope others will take in consideration and come out and watch us play.
Well, I would certainly encourage them to, because it's been there's been some excellent basketball played there in recent years. Yeah, for
Aaron,
sure.
one thing about Stacy Vonderheide, rumor has it she also came home Friday from Bloomington to be in the play and then went back up to Bloomington.
Yeah, that's well, she came home Friday to be in the play, went back up Saturday, and then was in the play again all weekend as well. So she just that kid, the phrase "can't stop, won't stop," she won't. She's one of the greatest kids I've had an opportunity to even as a coach to spend 4 months with her during the year, get to know her. She hasn't ever really been that vocal, but she's been vocal this year. So I know she feels confident in what she's doing. And for all those college coaches out there, that's a kid that someone should be watching, because she's a great kid to add to your roster. In addition to academically, she's one of the best in the school. So just an awesome kid.
On the drive up to Bloomington yesterday, I think Matt Robinson told me that Stacy's dad might have jokingly said that the reason she does all that stuff is because she doesn't want to be home working on the farm for 1 second. So
good point.
Stacy's the only kid, right? If I don't know, Jeff or Laurie, at camps I used to say, "Do you know Diana Taurasi? Do you know Sue Bird?" And all the kids are like, "I had coach." Or, "Do you know LeBron James? And do you know Caitlin Clark?" Now it's Caitlin Clark. All the kids know who Caitlin Clark is, right? Across the U.S. and our kids even recognize those things. So Stacy Vonderheide is the only kid that I know that knows Larry Bird, and she loves Larry Bird and can talk about basketball in the era with Larry Bird and Magic and Michael and Charles. But I'm sure her dad had a lot to do with that, because that was probably her best player. But, our kids these days, as far as understand the history of the game, I think Caitlin Clark has done an amazing job changing that, because like every kid at camp knew who she was. But I'm proud of Stacy because she knows who Larry Bird is, for sure.
Well, we'll give Laurie a chance here now, I think, if that's all right. Laurie, you're going into your 18th year as the head coach there at T-Town. Had a if we're eliminating that COVID year, which we have to do, 13th straight year with a regional championship, and you have an interesting situation where a lot of the scoring from last year's team has graduated off. So I imagine, while I know defense is what Laurie Thompson cares about deeply, you're having to figure out who it is that's going to make a few of the shots for your team this year. I'm guessing that's been an early part of practice.
Most definitely. Yeah, that's something, with last year's team, we graduated 7 seniors, 85, almost 90% of our scoring is gone. So yeah, that was a big thing. We had I gave the girls a challenge this summer, a shooting challenge to make 6,000 shots between July 1 and the time we started. And I had, out of 21 kids, because we have 23 kids on our team, 2 of which are foreign exchange students. So we have 21 kids, not really counting, the freshmen, but glad to say that we had almost 80% of those kids to be successful in that challenge. I had several making 13,000, 10,000, 11,000 shots, because we knew, and that was something we talked about, we're going to have to be able to score because we lost a lot of scoring. So I am proud of the girls that stepped up to do that challenge. And, coming into the gym the last couple of weeks, I could tell, we're making baskets in the gym, in the practice. Hopefully that carries over to the game. But most definitely that was a big concern. Because, you can kids have to work on shooting. I mean, you lose it pretty quick if you're not working on it. Defense, I know I can get kids to play defense. I can get that done in the gym. So I am pleased though. The shooting challenge has gone well. And like I said, I'm in a very unique situation again this year. We haven't had this a long time. I only have 4 upperclassmen. I have 2 seniors and 2 juniors, and the rest of my kids are freshmen and sophomores. So we're going to be young.
Mm-hmm.
And even this summer, I said, do you realize even if I start my upperclassmen, there's still going to be one underclassman that's going to start. Somebody, I mean, there's only, we start 5, there's only 4 upperclassmen. So I think, I got some of the kids pretty excited because I said the door open to anyone to get in here and to have that starting position. So we're going to be a work in progress all year long because it's going to take us a little while to get where I want us to be. But I've got great kids that are willing to work, and that's the key.
And the good news about these underclassmen that you're going to have no choice but to rely on is that some of them saw some pretty meaningful minutes last year. So it's not going to be, it's not going to be a trial by fire necessarily. They've already been on the varsity floor. Some of them.
Yeah. I had, well, I'll tell you how many were on the floor. So I have 2 seniors, of one of which was a part-time starter for sure, Summer Wall. Isabel Z. Zeruzen, got a few minutes, but she was hurt. She had injury a lot of last year. Coming back from that injury, it was pretty serious. But she's back full force. And then my Chloe Preps and Molly Ruha, they had quality minutes for sure at the varsity level. Yes,
I guess that's who I had in mind. I guess when I was asking that question.
Yep, and that's about it. So. That's one of those things. We had 7 seniors, and you have a big senior class that sometimes happens. But, I do have a couple sophomores. They dressed, but they really didn't get a lot of minutes. I would say Anna Prepst, she got the most minutes of our sophomores or that were freshmen last year. But that's okay. I mean, it's part of it. They're going to be inexperienced. And as a coaching staff, we've had to do this once before. You just have to be really patient with those kids because they're going to be making sophomore mistakes. This is how it is. And I'm throwing them to the fire starting game, Tuesday. There's no gimme games on our schedule. It's you come to play every night. And that's okay. Like I said, we'll probably take some lumps or some, and that's okay. We're going to learn from it. But at the end of the year, we're going to be where we need to be.
You talk about challenging them to make shots in their free time in the off season. But of course there is a difference between being able to shoot and being a scorer, right? I mean, some of that is in here and you got to get them in that mentality. Do you feel like you have some that are willing to be that way once the game starts and they're on the floor?
I think I've got a couple, and I hope so. And I hope, I always kind of said this too, and this kind of came from Dennis Custer. Good defense can breed offense. There's no doubt about it. And if we're aggressive defensively, I'm hoping that carries over to offensive aggressiveness. So yes, and I do think I have some kids that have the nose for the ball. They want to score. Again, you have to understand, like you said, you might be outmatched physically. I mean, we have some young girls that are still growing. I mean, they're not done growing. They're not filling out. So physicality is going to be, an issue. And then like the mental part of the game, like I said, they're going to have to get that experience at the varsity level and they're going to get it. But the good news is I feel like I've got my sophomore class. I feel like I can put them all, every one of those kids can get into a game and they probably will. They're going to get varsity minutes as sophomores because if I want to play the defense the way I want to play it, we're going to have a rotation.
Yep. And I mean, you mentioned the schedule. I mean, it's T-Town, boys, girls play a challenging schedule. You don't have those the conference obligations. So you're able to play who you want to a certain extent, as much as you can. And so that allows you to push yourself. And it might mean taking some lumps here and there, but they're going to figure it out. They're going to have no choice but to figure it out. Yeah.
And that's kind of what we talked about. I said, we'll keep our head up. We're going to I mean, I never walk into a game thinking we're going to lose. I think we're going to win every game we walk on the floor, but I'll be realistic. I just have a lot of inexperience out there, but we're going to gain that experience as the season goes on. And I always say by February, if we know what we're doing, that's where I want to be. And as long as they buy into the defense, they buy into the offense, want to score, get their fundamentals down, and they're coachable. And that's the other key. When you have a young team, of course, patience is going to be of utmost importance, but also if you have kids that are coachable, and I honestly have a great group of kids that are coachable. They want to play this game and play it right. And that's going to make for some success. I really believe that.
What do you got,
Laurie? I know with your numbers and not really looking for individual kids at all, you got any freshmen who you think just may have to baptism by fire, give you some minutes?
There's one, maybe two that I feel like at some point it may not happen in November.
Sure.
But yeah, there's some that could get some minutes.
Okay.
There's no doubt in my mind. Because you're always looking for a kid willing to score. You're looking for a kid that can handle the ball. We don't have a lot of height on our team, so we're kind of back to more of a guard oriented. And like I said, I'm all about kids that are willing to get out there and play defense too. And I think there's some potential there for sure. But I really like I said, I really like the kids I have right now. I mean, they're working hard in practice. I will say competitive. We are very competitive in practice, which obviously is going to make everybody better. And, it's kind of one of the things Coach Cottrell and I were talking about is that, man, we can throw out a lot of different combinations out there. And, that's something I really haven't done in a long time, but defensively. And that's something, like I said, we have been working on all summer and working on, from day one of practice, because our defense, the way we want to run things it's a tough system to learn. And I've been very pleased with how we've progressed so far. Getting in shape, we're still working on that, because in order to play great defense the way I want to play it, you have to be in shape. Mm-hmm. So like the kids are working hard, and I've got two seniors that want to lead, and that's another huge thing. When you have a young team, you have to have good leaders, not good necessarily from the coach. Of course, the coach has got to be a good leader, but when you have good athletes, your seniors are good leaders for those young kids. Man, that's gonna help us along the way. And right now with Isabel Zaruzin and Summerwall, I am extremely pleased with those two young ladies on how they've been leading this team.
Excellent. Quickness, speed. I know you love pressure. Different ways you use pressure, but I know you like that. So since you're not big, you got a quick group, you think?
Yeah, probably quicker than what we've had in the last couple of years, I would say. And again, I kind of mentioned, being able to rotate multiple kids, because hopefully we're going to be able to do that. And, getting out there, bust your butt for 2-3 minutes. And yeah, I'm going to give you a blow, and we'll get somebody else in there who can do the same thing. So sure. That's how I'm envisioning this going. But also too, I know we have to score. And like I said, and I told the girls, if it's your shot, you're going to shoot it. You miss it, but eventually we're going to get where we need to be, and those shots are going to fall.
Yeah. Well, and if you like to play defense, you can generate enough layups in a game to keep you in anything.
Exactly. And that's kind of where I hope we're at. Hopefully we get that, that grittiness, that toughness, and the fun of playing great defense. I hope they have the love of that, because if they can get successful at that, man, that's just so much fun to play. And like I said, so far the girls are buying into it. They're working hard. Like we have a lot to replace. We lost a lot, with last year with those seniors. I just think of Kaylee, Emily, Courtney, those top seniors with our top scorers. We did, but I got Chloe. Perhaps she'd come in there. She kind of ended the season kind of hurt as well. Molly's back. And those girls, I told them, hey, you can't be one dimensional. Work on something else besides the 3-pointer or drive to the basket. And both those young ladies have done that. So, I said, now your scouting report's going to get a little bigger for you when someone's scouting you, because now they're going to say, oh, that kid now can shoot threes, but also has a mid jumper. Yeah. So pretty proud of those kids, because they did take to heart what we told them to work on this summer, and just to round out their game, offensively. So I think good things are going to come. We're, if we can put it together with good leadership and a lot of patience, I think we'll be okay.
And we did your sectional game at Pana, and you mentioned Molly Ruhal. You can't be one dimensional, be a 3-point shooter, because Pana made a concerted effort not to let her get looks. And
right.
Eventually you had to go with another person in the rotation because she wasn't able to help you offensively at that time. So that's very important, and the kids understand that and say, coach didn't say, I mean, you're not saying don't shoot. You're just saying find other ways to be effective offensively.
Yeah, because that's kind of my, I tell them, okay, hey, this is my scouting report. If I'm playing you, and I tell this to the girls all the time, and, I just said it to Chloe the other night, if I'm playing you and I'm coaching against you, I'm going to tell my kids, this is exactly what you're going to do, because this is what you do 90% of the time. You go to the basket. So this is where you can't be doing that. You got to pick and choose your spots. You got to pull up, take the jumper, not go all the way to the basket. Little things like that they don't necessarily think about. But I'm like, that's how other coaches are viewing this. They're telling their kids your strength and weaknesses, just like we do to our opponents. I said, you got to make them go, wow, this kid, man, she's got a jump shot. She's got a set shot. She can get to the basket when she wants. I go, and then they're going, hell, I don't know what we're going to do,
Right. No, exactly.
And I think the kids, they understood that, and they worked on their game. And like I said, that's what we needed to do. We had a lot of work to do.
All right. Jeff, 26th year. Can you believe let me ask you this, and this is probably kind of a dumb one, but I'm going to ask it anyway. When you took over back in 1998, did you think this is going to go on for 26 seasons, or you just kind of breaking new ground every year when you agree to do it again?
Yeah, I don't know. I just remember that first year we coached that we, Dennis and Laurie beat us by like 40, but Millie Lang's like, hey, good job. You at least got the ball across the half court line. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I still love it. I mean, and you can tell, I think, by the other interviews that the passion that all three of us still have, that we like going to practice every day. We're all blessed with great kids, and it just makes it. That's what I told them the other day. I said, you guys just make my job fun. I said, I thank them for doing that. That they work so hard and do what we try to ask them to do to be better, and they come to practice every day trying to get better.
You guys, you got to 20 wins last year. All three of these coaches, by the way, I didn't mention Laurie's record last year. T-Town was 26-6 last year. You got to 20-11, and really, the Apollo Conference was it was challenging, to say the least. And so to still win that many ball games, having to play who you did, I mean, it was quite a gauntlet that the league threw down for you last year.
Yeah, I mean, when you win the Apollo, you know that you had a good year, because I was telling somebody that the other day that we've had a lot of really good teams in the last 20 years, and I think we've only won it like 5 times. So it's tough. I think last year we had 3 of our teams ranked in the top 10 at one time with Lincoln, and yeah, I mean, it's nice to play a non-conference game once in a while.
Yeah.
But that's like Laurie and Aaron both said, it just all it does is make you better, playing the better teams that you play.
And kind of like Laurie, you've lost a couple of your leading scorers, Madison Mapes, Ellen Eberge graduated off of that team, but you do have you have some kids coming back who at least spent some time occasionally being a leading scorer, and I know there's more to it than point totals. It's the only thing I can keep track of, so it's obviously what I talk about. But pretty good group still coming back in for you, plus an addition that we can also talk about as well that came in from out of district.
Right. Well, Bria Bills is our leading returning scorer. I think she's the only one that we had back that averaged more than 4 points a game. But like you said, they all have a nice upside, because they did get some experience last year. They got to play a lot. I feel like they're pretty talented offensively, but defensively is the work in progress right now. We like Laurie said, got to get them playing with that passion that it takes to play really good defense. Because as we're matching them up against Robinson for tomorrow night, I'm like, I don't have Ella to guard their best player now. Okay, I don't have Marissa to guard their second best player. And then I know Madison would stay in the game. Well, Avery, not get in foul trouble and stay in the game. Those are all like little things that going through our heads right now, like trying to match them up defensively. But we'll get it figured out, and we'll get to where we can trust those young kids more and more as the season goes on.
You did have quite a few pretty young kids in the rotation though last year, and some that came on stronger as the year went on, and plus you were missing I know Sydney Donaldson was hurt quite a bit last year, somebody that you might have given more minutes to, but I mean, it was nice to be able to see some of those younger kids take their minutes and occasionally do something pretty good with them when they got the chance throughout the year.
Yeah, for sure. Avery as a freshman, Avery Wolf, and Alyssa Martin as freshman got to play a lot. I would say a lot for freshmen, especially towards the end of the year. But both play so hard and play with so much passion. They just love basketball, and then you can tell by watching them play, and they just make everybody else around them better. And the key to our success is just going to be, is everybody going to take that natural step forward to where they were last year and be better. And if we do that, when it looks like I think that we're capable of doing that, then I think we'll have a really good year. But then again, in the conference, it's if you don't play well, you're going to lose. So if you don't have a really good game every night, you're going to get beat. So that also keeps you trying to play your best all the time, and knowing that there's no days off. And I'm very fortunate with 11 to 13 kids in practice on just our varsity, because we're blessed with like 20, I want to say 27 or 8. So we're able to play a freshman schedule, a JV schedule, and varsity, where we can, we can send our kids to play JV games, because a lot of schools are really struggling for numbers. So we're able to divide ours up in almost three sets, which is helpful. But any of my 11 could play at any time, and they all did at times this summer. I've kind of tried to just go with like 8 in that first rotation to kind of have a little balance and know what their exact roles are, and then we'll play it from there. Other than that,
and Bella Austin's playing basketball, right? She I know she's on the volleyball team, but just to explain that, she was at Vandalia the last couple of years, but they moved into district, and that's got to be quite the little gift to have a junior come in who was a second team all conference player down the South Central Conference jump into your program. I mean, that I'm sure you weren't complaining when you got that news.
Yeah, and a new kid to your program, I guess this is the best compliment I can give her, is that, this was the first time we didn't vote on captains at the end of last year, because there's so much up in the air. Like, I don't know which kids are going to step forward or work over the summertime or be our leaders, I guess. And, I named her one of our 3 captains the other day in practice. Let's just put it this way. When they rolled the ball out there to shoot free throws or run, she went out there the first day and took the ball and made it. And then on day 2, they all looked at her to go again instead of somebody else doing it. And then she just leads by example in practice as well. So last thing I told the kids, the last thing I expected was to name somebody coming in from somewhere else, like who's not been in your program before, a captain. But I think she's very deserving of that. But she fits in very well with what we do. And I think, the one thing she said is, like, practice is so much more competitive here every day. And it's making her better as well. So she's getting better every day, but she makes all the players around her better as well. And you can tell, go back to the volleyball success and while it's a kind of a curse for Aaron and his practice, I'm a firm believer. If you go back and check Effingham basketball and Effingham volleyball, when our volleyball has good years, our basketball team has good years too. And 8 of my top 11 were on the volleyball team. And then I think one golfer, one runner. So pretty much everybody but one was playing another sport. So, but that success just carries over. I'm a firm believer that, that winning just breeds itself. And usually when one program's successful, the other one's going to be too.
We got Mike.
No, I agree wholeheartedly with Jeff on that. When you have success, how it feeds throughout the building, and that's the thing. I mean, fall programs, when they're successful, it just becomes contagious, and everybody in the school kind of wants to follow suit. I got a question for the group, and I know you've yet to play a game, and I'm going to ask the same question next week also with the new no longer bonus rule.
Oh yeah.
You say hold on, I can't ask it.
No, I was just saying, I hadn't thought to ask anything about that. I'm sorry.
My what I bring to this show is very limited, Dustin. Don't steal my thunder when I have
I know
question.
that.
But I guess number one, what is your anticipation? And being, thinking about it as a coach, do you think it will change your outlook on things throughout the game? I mean, I know you haven't even played under the new rule yet, but I mean, what's your gut tell you?
Mike, you probably don't even think what I'm going to say, but the first thing I thought of is that awesome, amazing Nelson kid scored 54 and 52 against us the last couple of years. And we played them, I think, 3 times a year the last 2 years in Altamont. And she has a way of just getting to the basket and causing disruption wherever she goes, right? So she can take over games and shoot 98% from the free throw line. She could see a lot of success. So I was talking to Coach Rios about just strategy this year in general. Is once we get to that five foul point, is what are we doing defensively to make sure that we're not getting ourselves in a situation where we're just having stupid fouls and teams can make a run because they get a chance to shoot free throws independently with their best players. And we also think it from an offensive standpoint of the girls like Stacey Vonderheid and Nancy Ruhal that shoot 90+%, 85 or plus percent. And how can we be aggressive and run some different things for them if we put, different defenses on their heels and put them in a situation to where we're at. I think it's going to be interesting early on. We don't think about it much because, we teach, to play hard defense, but to play smart defense. But I think you're going to see some games that could go either way because of some of those changes. And again, that's just a game, how it is, right? And so I think long term we'll find out where it goes. But I think on both sides, I think at least if you care about trying to win games, that you're at least thinking about it a little bit.
Any other thoughts?
Laurie, I can see I can hear the defensive end of it spinning in your head. And I guess as a coach that doesn't coach anymore, I also see it as, man, we committed 6 fouls in that first quarter. Now it resets. I can still be aggressive in the second quarter and not worry about here comes the 1-on-1, 1-on-1, 1-on-1. So I see both sides of it. I understand what Aaron's saying when these kids that can, score it well. Tyra Buss would average 90 points a game maybe under this rule, But tell me.
Well, we've already talked about that, and that's exactly what I've said. We're going to be more aggressive, and I can spread the wealth. If I can play more kids and spread the fouls out, that's kind of playing into what hopefully our strength is going to be is defense. So that's what I said. We want to play more aggressive than ever, and obviously smart after we commit all those fouls really quick, we'll play smart. But I see it both ways too. But I do see it allowing a defensive team to rack up some fouls without putting them on the line. But again, once you get to that point, I mean, now they're shooting too, so you have
Right.
to still be smart once you get to that at that point. And obviously, I don't want kids fouling out that I don't want to foul out. But I feel like, if you have a team that's in a situation where they can play 10 kids, 11 kids, man, it could be an advantage for them if they're aggressive.
I agree. I think if you have depth
Yeah.
and you have quality depth, not just, hey, I'm dressing 12 kids,
Right.
but I think if you have quality depth, I can see where you can use that as an advantage. Some things defensively were in the past, once you get to that magic 6 foul, you're like, okay, from here on out, they're shooting, and we've committed 6 fouls, and there's still a minute to go in the quarter.
Right.
Now they've only maybe gone to the line one time unless they're in the act. So, I mean, I can see that side of it.
Yeah.
I was like, idiot was that came up with the idea that this is going to be safer.
Well,
letting them foul more. You're letting us be more aggressive.
Yep.
It's totally backwards from what the mentality of what they said that they were trying to accomplish, which makes no sense in the world. But like for us, who I feel like we are 11 deep, and I've told 8, 9, 10, and 11, like, you guys need to be ready. If we've only committed 2 fouls with 30 seconds to go, I can send you out there. We can foul 2 more times. So that whole strategy, I think all we've done is make it harder for the officials in a time where we have trouble getting officials. And that to me makes no sense at all.
No, and I agree with that, especially when you're talking about that. Okay, we've committed 3 fouls, 2 fouls. We've committed 2 fouls in the quarter. Back in the day, I called it my bomb squad. I'd send out 5 kids, just play with their hair on fire. We'd trap, do whatever we could, wear you down, because they were only going to be out there 45 seconds. But you can gamble and take chances with those kids and not worry about, oh, now we're closer to the bonus because the clock resets.
Right.
So there wasn't any more detailed explanation than that. Just this is going to be safer. I mean, was it a long written out thing, or was that just basically we're doing this? It's a safety measure, and
we're getting hurt boxing out on free throws.
Okay, well,
the girls' game. All 3 of us would love if our kids would box out every time.
I was going to say, Jeff, I haven't seen an epidemic of overboxing out in a long time at either boys or girls games,
All right. Well,
yeah.
Hey,
will it make the games go quicker? You think it'll shorten the time?
I think
I don't know.
will still be poor defensive teams.
Yeah.
And I let the better teams be more aggressive. So I think all it does is really help better teams.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I understand that thought completely.
Well, we're butting up, Mike, against what we promised these folks that we would do as far as taking their time. But and I think they've all at one point or another, kind of in passing, mentioned their coaching staffs, their JV coaches at least. But I do want to give you all a chance to shout out the people who are on staff with you. It sounds like no major shakeups as far as I can tell. But Jeff, is it you got everybody back on the bench with you this year, or have you got any changes?
Well, Lacey Altoff took a administrative role, so she's kind of just our statistician. But Sydney Donaldson, who was Sydney Webster, who played for me, she and Megan have switched. Sydney actually was doing our 8th grade too. Megan stepped away, trying to have a baby, so we're all for that. And she still helps with our 5th graders actually. So, but yeah, I've got Troy and Aaron back for like year 15. And when you have that continuity, there's just no substitute for that, because, we have people thinking the same and they're not afraid to tell me when they think I'm wrong. So that's nice.
And Laurie, you mentioned Josh Cottrell. It's been you guys for a very long time as well.
Yeah. So yeah, Josh is still with us as a JV coach, and I also still have, nothing's really changed. Coach Maria Nieberge Tagler is still with us. as our fresh soft coach. And then my daughter, Leah Calvert, is still with us as a volunteer. So again, kind of echoing what Jeff said, they've been around, they know the girls, they know the system. I'm very thankful and blessed to have them on our team. And again, they have no problem telling me when I'm wrong. So, or to change something. So, and that's good. And I'm all for that. We're definitely a team effort here.
And Aaron, I know that your assistant coach will have no problem telling you when you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I think I say that every year on the last 3 years. Stacy's back with us. I'm glad to have her back on the squad. She tells me every year that she's only back because she loves these kids, not because of me. So that's the relationship we have. And then Ashley Dryden's back again. She coached with us last year, and she also coached in the middle school. And we love Ash. Ashley's a great upcoming coach, and I hope at some point she gets an opportunity for a head coaching job down the line. She's really, really good at what she does. And then we've added Abby Schmidt. She's a former player in our program at the middle school level, high energy, a lot of energy. She teaches in the middle school. So she's developing those relationships early on for us. And it's really good for us in the middle school. It's the first year that I can remember, in at least the last 8, that we didn't have some parent coaching in the middle school. Not that those parents didn't do a good job, because Stacy and I did that for 2 or 3 years as well. But it's just good to have those coaches down there, strong female coaches developing those relationships. So thank you for all of them for what we do. That's why we're successful.
Absolutely. All right, Mike, is there anything I haven't asked these folks that I would be just completely dropping the ball not to ask, or you think we can let them get on with their evenings?
Nope, we're good. We'll let them get on with their evening. I've been watching the Indiana game with one eye, so
Well, yeah. I got no comment there. I don't want
to. I think Zach might have sold me this back.
Zach Wilson sold you that when he had to raise money to go to Europe. Heck yes, I got a bunch of those in my cabinet.
Well, everybody, I really, and it's not just lip service. I mean this truly. It's a pleasure to have you on here. We're lucky to have the coaches that we do in the area, and you three are amongst that. And it's nice to be able to pick your brains a little bit, hear what you have to say, and most importantly, watch your teams in action. Great programs all the way across the board, and it makes it not even a job to cover your teams throughout the season, because we're extremely blessed with the basketball we get to see. So I appreciate your time and wish all of you good luck with the year. And hopefully we'll be covering some nice long postseason runs for everybody here in a few months.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for having us.
See you guys. Thanks.
Thank you. See ya.
All right. We'll let them bail on the call. Jeff Schafer from Effingham High School, Laurie Thompson from Teutopolis, Aaron Rios from St. Anthony, all nice enough to join in. And Mike, that leaves us to have a great conversation about the St. Anthony volleyball team, because
you got to go up and do the games.
They got
you and Matt got to do that.
Burying the lead here, they got 3rd place in the Class 1A state volleyball.
Right, I did. They got 3rd place. They were one of 2 1A teams to end the season on a victory, which is, that's awesome. I listened to most of your coverage on Friday, and I listened to all of it on Saturday. So I had you running through the computer at my desk.
They went up there Friday in the semifinals. They played a Galena team that ended up winning the state championship. And quite honestly, having watched both of the semifinals, I kind of thought for sure that that Hartsburg-Emden team would probably win the title once I had seen both semifinals. But Galena apparently found an even. And they had some really quality players. I don't mean it wrong. I just felt like Hardham was probably the team that was going to do it. Galena felt otherwise, but St. Anthony came back and played Cissna Park in the 3rd place game, and after losing to losing to Galena 25-18, 25-18. And those games were probably, at least the first one, a little closer than those scores might.
Yeah, it sounded like that first game was at a point where it could go either way, and Galena ran off a couple points in a row.
But then St. Anthony against Cissna Park on Saturday in the third place match, it was a pretty tight first game, but then they just went on a run and ended up beating them 25-15 in that first game. And you're sitting there thinking, okay, they're feeling loose. They're finally getting some good swings, which they really, the third semifinal match, there was never that apparent level of comfort on the floor, I don't think, where they were just, the passing was crisp and they were getting good looks at the ball. Never really felt like they were able to accomplish that in the semifinals, but they got there in that first game against Cissna Park. Plus, they were controlling the net in the blocking game. They were really just getting their hands on a lot of stuff around the net. Again, things that weren't happening against Galena. But then Cissna Park found another gear, ended up winning the second game 25-23, and they had St. Anthony down.
Yeah, down 6 points, weren't they?
Yeah, 21-16, I think, was the biggest late margin.
Okay.
And next thing you know, it's tied at 21, I believe. And then even then, went back and forth, got to 22-22. Cissna Park goes up 23-22. And then that was it. Kara Hatton, a freshman, gets just a huge kill, and she played great all weekend. She was probably across both matches, she probably had their best tournament. That's a tough thing to say, but
right. Well, and I listened to, there was a lot of moments. I heard the Niemeyer girl quite a bit. I heard Rodolphe.
Yeah.
Anna
Niemeyer had a great first match, and not to take anything away from her second match on Saturday, and especially in the later part of that match, she came around a little bit, but boy, they would have been in trouble without her in that first match in the semifinals. And then Abby Hatton got a pretty sweet little kill to make it 24-23, and then a mistake on the Cissna Park side of things ended that third place match. So you go from 21-16 down to winning 25-23. Abby Hatton, I thought she was able to get a lot more good swings at the ball in the third place match than the semifinal. And it's hard to say with volleyball. It's hard to say exactly why any of that is, because there's so many moving parts, and there's so many people touching the ball that, like, I'm not saying that I don't want to say that it's Abby's fault that she didn't get as many swings in that first match, because I don't know, right. The ball has to be where it needs to be. And there's a lot of things that have to happen in order for that to work. And I just think that based on Coach Bailey's comments in the press after the semifinal, that they basically just were a little tentative and
yeah, she said they kind of had the big stage-itis. They just never felt comfortable, she felt like.
Which is what she also told us about how, when she watched Cissna Park in the other semifinal, she felt like they were kind of in the same boat, that they kind of got a deer in the headlights thing going on, and next thing they knew, they were just getting smacked around. But they had they had a plan that they wanted to try to carry out in the semifinals. St. Anthony did, and they didn't really stick with it for whatever reason, and they were able to be a little more in control of things and play with a little more confidence in the third place match, which you will see. I've been to enough state tournaments and enough sports that, sometimes teams play pretty loose and free and easy in that third place, because, a little bit of the pressure is off. No matter how much you want to win, a little bit of that underlying pressure is off.
Well, and T-Town boys basketball last year is a prime example. However, their opponent had a lot to do with their discomfort, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I don't want to.
Then kind of came out in the third place game and played more like people were accustomed to seeing them play.
Sure.
And Coach Bailey, when I read those quotes after the first game, I kind of thought, well, that happens a lot. They've been on some big stages, but it's still not that stage. You know what I mean? That's a different stage.
Well, you play to get there, right? I mean, when you start the season, that's what you're thinking about is we're playing to get to where we worked for months to get here to this very thing. And so I can see where, I mean, no matter how headstrong and confident you are, it's in the back of your head, right? Like when it starts to slip away a little bit, like I could completely understand it. But again, the opponent has so much to do with that. And you were playing in the semifinals against the team that ended up winning it all.
Right.
And so what are you going to do? I mean, you get to state, you're going to be playing against some really good teams and they're going to make you uncomfortable. And to St. Anthony's credit, when they probably down 5 points late in that third game could have said, I guess this just isn't going to happen. They found another gear.
Yeah, they didn't roll over at that point.
And they made the plays. And something that was consistent in both that first game on Saturday and the third game on Saturday was that they really made their move when the aforementioned Stacy Vonderheide was serving. And now,
right.
I'm not going to pretend, Mike, that I know a lot about volleyball. I've watched plenty in my life, but
right.
to sit here and completely understand why things might go a certain way when somebody's serving. I mean, yes, it could be the way she's hitting, and I'm sure that that's got partly to do with it. It could just be where the other team is kind of at in their rotation when your service comes around, or where you're at in your rotation, who's up at the net, who's playing on this part of the floor when that comes around. But both times, when they made their run in the first game to pull away, and then when they got pulled even in that third game, it was with Stacy Vonderheide doing the service, and so that's got to be worth pointing out.
Well, she had to get home afterwards so she could be in the play.
Yeah, and also I would be remiss not to mention the match that Andrea Rodolfi had in the third place match, because she led the team in kills. I mean, 13 kills in that match. And it seemed like with any time they really they needed something, when they really needed to stop a run, or when they were kind of building momentum, it seemed like the ball was finding her, it was coming her way, and she, to her credit, was doing everything with the sets. She was getting the finishes, she was hitting it clean and where she wanted to. She had a great match on Saturday. We were calling her name a ton.
Yeah, and I did, like I said, I heard it a lot on Saturday versus Friday. It seemed to be more Niemeyer and Hatton.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. And congratulations, girls, bringing home a piece of hardware. First time they've been to state.
Yeah.
And when you get there, you're getting a trophy. So that part's good. But that's awesome. I mean, I remember Whitey when I was right out of Eastern in the late 80s, helping Dave Bartlett coach. I mean, volleyball, they've come a long way.
It's such
from those days.
It's such a fun sport, really.
Back then, you could only score when you served. I'm pretty sure.
No, the rally scoring it's not new anymore, but I'm old enough to remember when it wasn't that way. But it's a highly entertaining game. It's not easy to broadcast. We would not have been able to even pull that off if Matt Robinson was not fluent. I mean,
Matt is savant. He speaks volleyball.
Yeah, Matt coached at Altamont. He knows the game, and so he's got some of the terminology down. I mean, if I were trying, listen, I can fake a play-by-play in a lot of things. I don't think I could have made it work with volleyball.
You guys did well. I told you when you did the pink out game. I thought, I think I texted you and said you did a great job.
Yeah, no,
and I listened to you guys. I knew what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could tell. And the funny thing is, you guys both get excited when you're supposed to get excited. There were no Peter Brady moments, so that was good.
Well, there's nothing wrong with a Peter Brady moment every now and again. One of the highlights of my time doing this was a little Peter Brady moment down in Wayne County. So um we were, but we talked last week about whether the radio station was going to do it. At the time, I didn't realize that we would. And to be clear, we don't like
I don't
Matt.
think anyone realized you would. I think it
No.
was kind of a last minute deal. And
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody didn't understand the moment. Like, obviously, like, Matt and I enjoy it. We don't get to just decide what we go do.
right.
So,
To be brutally honest, Matt's a sports director. His level of input, say, hey, we're going to go do this state tournament. That's really not his call. He
Right.
can give input,
yeah.
but he's not going to make the final decision.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
and
I'm not
we
there.
talked about it. There may have been, the power of social media may have helped persuade people to find enough sponsors to get it done.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not full time there. I don't know if people understand that or not, but like, it's just a thing I do. And so I'm not
You have
there.
a job.
I'm not there in the building every day to even have a completely full understanding of how these decisions are all made. But I do know that basically I got an email early in the week that said, hey, if we do this, can you be there? And I was like, well, sure, of course, I would love to.
Yeah.
But that's, they have, it's a business, and they have to be able to,
Right.
to justify it from a business end to do it. And they were able to. Credit to those who are in charge of that. They made it work. They understood the situation, and they said, we need to make this happen. And they did.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what that means in the future. I had so much fun with it. If somebody said, hey, we're going to do a little bit more of this next year, I would be on board for it. But also, I will say, basketball, there's lots of timeouts, there's lots of quarter breaks, and there's halftime, and there's lots of chances to pay the bills, so to speak. Baseball, even more so, right? Football, even more so. Volleyball is such a fast-paced game, and the way the matches run, there's not that much. There's no natural time to really do it, and so
Right.
that's kind of part of the challenge. And there's, you got to staff it, right? You got to have people to do it in person and back at the station. And so, we'll see if that opens any doors or not. But I just, without looking at the big picture, because I have no control over that, by the way.
And you guys, again,
you
guys did a great job.
Great. It was great fun. Awesome to be a part of it. Awesome.
You were fun to listen to, and remember, since I'm like now my role of helper, I may help at more games this year.
Sure.
There is no way I could have an intelligent sentence during a volleyball game.
Well, you might be surprised. I mean, anything else? I mean, you watch it enough, and just sitting there with Matt and listening to him say things for a couple of days, I feel like I have a lot better grasp on some of the terminology than I did a week ago. So there's that. I mean, it kind of makes me feel bad that I used to write volleyball stories at the newspaper all the time and had no idea what most of those terms were. And I still felt like I wrote pretty good volleyball stories for the most part. But hey, I love it. Great fun. And you mentioned helping with basketball. I mean, listen, another 8 days and we'll be having ball games on the radio, because that's when the St. Anthony Turkey Tournament kicks off. And
Turkey Tournament starts, and looking forward to with basketball this time of the year now. My other hobby of kind of herding cats on my committee with my Christmas tournament. We are moving right along.
Yeah.
We're probably, I get my hand-wringing angst always about this time, and are we going to get our commitments from our corporate sponsors? Yes. And we may have even picked up one or two, and then you always look, last year was our second best gate since we've been to 16 teams. But wow, that night, the third place game was the St. Anthony was in the crowd. And then the championship game between T-Town and Lincoln Way East, Matt, we're sitting there getting buried in the concession stand at the end of that, or preparing so we could still be buried. And T-Town people just kept coming in. They kept coming in.
Oh, it was a
They
great
kept coming in.
Great atmosphere.
Oh, incredible atmosphere. Great game. So looking forward to it. I think tomorrow I get my initial welcome email out to coaches and ADs, and we're doing a few things different this year with how we do our apparel and such. So I've got to talk slow for a couple coaches. You know, I'll give them grief and say, man, you know, you now have a little link where you order your own shirts. We don't do it for you now. It'll be fun, but we're so looking forward to it.
And
basketball season, man, it's awesome. I mean,
it's just the time of year. It seems like people really seem to get into what we're doing here too. Basketball just seems to be kind of our wheelhouse. I guess because at least one of us really knows what he's talking about when it comes to the basketball. I'll leave that up to the viewer to decide who. But
well, if we had that in a poll, there would be some people saying, "I watched him coach. He doesn't know a thing." But I have actually talked to two of our three coaches who we hope to have on next week. I'll send out the invitation tonight. Had one coach say, "Hey, when are we doing your podcast?" I said, "Well, we got the girls this week. We'll do you next week." So looking forward to it. Again, and I enjoy watching games, just watching whether I mean, if I go and watch a game and I'm not helping you guys on the radio, I've had people sit by me and I watch a game differently than most people do. I mean, I'm looking at different things, you know. I'm kind of in my brain, I'm still looking at tendencies. I'm still looking at what's happening away from the ball and And I get excited about it. It's you know, it's almost like Christmas Eve when when we get started here. And I have a buzzword now for the tournament, Whitey. I know this will upset you this year.
Let's hear it.
For our hospitality room, more brisket. I know that I know you're probably upset about that.
I've never been upset about brisket as far as I can remember.
And it's
but what I want to say to people is that since I know that these basketball episodes just get more eyeballs for whatever reason, this is the time where you could do us a huge favor. You know, we want more people. We want more people to hear what we have to say, I guess. I mean, you know, I think we can add to the conversation. And so, you know, do us a favor. You know, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel for whatever reason, please do. Encourage friends that have a passion for basketball in the area to do so as well. We touch on a lot of the local schools. Obviously, we're going to concentrate on the ones that, like, we talked to the Effingham, the St. Anthony, and the T-Town coaches. You know,
we covered the Holy Trinity, and we may broaden out and talk to a few other coaches we have in the past.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that, like, caring about those schools is going to lead you to just be seeing and thinking about everybody else, and obviously me being who I am and living where I do, you know, especially those national trail schools, I'm always going to be looking at what they're doing and thinking about what they're doing, and keeping tabs on what they're doing. And with Effingham, you know, we keep a good look at the Apollo and all that stuff. So there's a pretty broad range of conversation that happens here. And I don't know, like, we'd love to see a little spike in our numbers. It always makes you feel good. And so if you want to,
you know, I haven't even looked, Whitey, what's our subscription number at?
I think we're pushing up to 170, which is still pretty modest, but
well,
we'll
get there. We
this
need
is
to push
the year.
we were going to have you cut off get a haircut to get to 200. And You got the haircut. We got to come up with something else.
I don't know. Maybe I
Oh.
I don't want to shoot big. Let's try to double it by the time the basketball season.
Okay. Aaron Britton, I think, will be a more than one-time guest for us this season. I'd like to have him on little snippets.
Yeah.
Just kind of give us an update on his rankings. His rankings came out this past week.
Mm-hmm.
His preseason rankings. St. Anthony was number 4 in 1A, I believe, in his preseason 1A rankings.
Not surprising.
And Teutopolis was number 11 in 2A, I believe.
Okay.
But one thing I'll tell you, Aaron's rankings are spot on. He's good. He takes the time and the effort, and you look at his rankings a lot of times versus his preseason versus AP's preseason. You can tell one guy's doing his homework and one guy's not.
Yeah.
Or one, it varies. So yeah, and we'll bring in some of the usual suspects this year.
Sure. And since Matt and I are going to be teaming up, and I haven't actually pitched this to Matt, but I'm sure he'll be on board with it to
Yep.
get him in here a little bit to talk about what we've seen lately. I think that would be good. And
Yep, I want to do that with him. We have found that sometimes when we have kids on, our viewership has been really, really good.
Yeah.
Sometimes, so we may involve a few more players this year. We'll just have to see. Sometimes the kids don't want to talk. They'll give you 1 and 2 word answers, and they don't have the gift of gab the 2 hosts have.
I have been told once or twice that I can talk a little bit, and I'm sure you
That's all right.
have heard that as well. Hey, speaking of talking for a while, we've been going for well over an hour. We're probably going to lose people if we keep jabbering too much.
Yep.
So we can leave it there. We will. I don't know, unless there's anything we just absolutely have to hit
Nope.
on here. Is that?
I think we're good, and then hopefully
with
the plan next week's to get coaches Reader, Rinker, and Farmer on. So that'll be the plan. I'll work on that.
Okay. I've talked to, I've run into Cody here and there because seen him at Park District Soccer. I've seen him in fall travel baseball on the other side
question.
of the
I got a question. Who knows more about soccer, you or Cody Rinker?
I wouldn't say we actually talked any soccer, and I wouldn't say that at that level any actual real honest to God soccer is being played anyway.
Okay.
But he probably knows. He might know more. I don't know. I think my kid knows more than I do about it. So it's not that I don't want to. I just don't. Is that diplomatic enough? I don't want to put it. Anyway,
sounds good.
All right. Hey, again, subscribe, like our Facebook page, share it, do everything you can, help us out. If you appreciate it, we would appreciate you doing that. So catch up with us next week. We'll have those boys coaches, and then after that, we'll start having games to talk about. Sounds good.
There we go. Yeah,
All
we'll
right.
start having games next week. Plus the girls games.
Well, the girls games, yeah, that's right. But as far as I'll be broadcasting, I guess.
Okay.
I mean, I could tell you about the junior high boys games I've been going to since my daughter's a cheerleader, but I have run into some pretty good officials at some of those games. I've seen Bob Alexander out there. I've seen Bob Schlechte already. I don't know how many more junior high boys games they'll be doing once the varsity season starts, but they've been.
Yeah, well, they're getting their legs. They're getting their sea legs set. I know how that works.
All right, Mike. We'll talk to you next week.
See you, Whitey.
All right, see ya.